right, we're live. Good 2:03 in the afternoon, everybody. I have slacked on the live streaming, and guess what happened as a result? I just stopped posting to YouTube altogether. I didn't take my own advice. My own advice, even what I tell my son is you gotta keep shipping. Anything that stops you from shipping is the enemy. But sometimes what stops me from shipping is a feeling that it could be better if I just thought about it a little more, or maybe watching Mr. Beast say post less and focus on quality more and things like that. It doesn't work for me. What works for me is ship. So I'm back on it here. We are working on Pocket Pages today. We're working on this experimental overhaul that is a plugin system. So here's the thought. The thought is I've reorganized Pocket Pages here into packages, and we have the site package, that's the front end. That's where the documentation lives. We have Pocket Pages, which is the core. And then we have this plugin EJS, and we have this plugin marked, and I'm just calling it plugin marked like that. So these are the first two plugins available. And I have here in my route handler this function called load plugins. So the idea is that the Pocket Pages config, where you can do that plus config.js, is going to have a new entry here called plugins. And in fact, this config directive called host, this one's going to go away too. Watch how I do this. I'm going to create a new package here called Pocket Pages plugin JS SDK. This is the server-side Pocket Base JS SDK that we wrote. There's no reason for all of this to be bundled in the Pocket Pages core. So check it out. Let's switch into it, and we'll do a pnpm init. In the package JSON, I like to start everything at version 0.0.1. I like to have dist index.js as my main output, and this will be good enough for now. We don't need any of these other fields in here yet. Going to make a source directory, going to put an index.ts in here. And here's what I do with this stuff. I had that on the clipboard, that host parameter from config. I had that on the clipboard. But look in here, inside global API, I'm going to change global API. I'm going to take this PB right here. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to just paste it down in there for now. Then in the type definition for the global context, I'm going to take out the PocketBased reference there. While I'm at it in here, since this is going to be a breaking change version of Pocket Pages, I'm going to take out this find record by filter stuff and just completely eliminate this database one. This is actually obsoleted by the JS SDK plugin, so we don't need to worry about that at all. Now, this stuff right here, look at this. Request verification, confirm verification, request OTP. Those need to be in a new package called Pocket Auth. And Pocket Pages plugin auth is going to have all of the functions. I'm going to call this global TS. I'm just parking these functions in here, right? It's going to have all of those functions, including we're going to put create passwordless user, create anonymous user, and create user. Those are all going to go in this auth plugin. So I'm taking those out of the global context altogether. We don't want them. Create user, request OTP, right? All that's gone from global context. Now, in the middleware handler, there are also some functions in the middleware handler like register with password, which requires the global create user. Sign in with password, sign in anonymously. All of these right here, all of these request on, sign in auth2, sign out, sign in with token. Every one of those is getting taken out of there, and it's going into, I'm just going to call it request.ts for now. I'm going to park it in there. And then I'm going to remove it from the request context. I'm trying to get all this stuff out of the core. Gani made a comment the other day where he was like, there's there's too much going on, the bundle's too big, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm working on rectifying that. All of these things, auth options, all of these types are going to go down into here. They're going to get parked in here for now. We'll worry about how to piece it all back together later. I'm just trying to move everything out into plugins. Usually this kind of project fails, by the way, but I learn a lot from it. So maybe maybe I'll do that. I'm tempted to put SSE into its own package just because not everybody needs server-side events. Doesn't take up that much space, but I do feel it complicates the rendering engine. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make a new plugin called PocketPages plugin SSE. And in the index TS here, I'm going to extract this send function, and I'm going to extract this low-level send function up here and drop those both, just park those both in the SSE plugin right now. And then we're going to take out that send signature and park it down in the SSE plugin as well. So I'm making a big mess today, breaking all this stuff. Oh, there's one more thing here. Deferred SSE goes in here. Now, if I do these plugins right, there should be no external changes other than certain plugins will be required, whereas before it was all in one bundle. So I'm going to say fix me initialize deferred SSE, because that's where I took that from, put it down in SSE, back into my middleware route handler. There was another place where we did something with SSE right down here. Fix me send deferred SSE. That happens right here. So we'll go down and park that in the SSE plugin. Yeah, I mean, this is feeling better and better already. So the plugin architecture is a little bit tricky here. Like, I'm wondering if I should even pull some of this other stuff out into plugins, like the whole layout system. Like, maybe, I don't know if that seems core or not. Like layouts, middlewares, loaders, those could all be pulled out into plugins. I guess that would make Pocket Pages very composable. Pocket Pages plugins, Pocket Pages plugin middleware, Pocket Pages plugin layouts. I don't know. Maybe those feel core. Let's just we'll keep going. We're going to think about that one. Something I've been kind of puzzling over is how this middleware or how the bootloader is going to work now. There's even this boot function that I don't think I want anymore. I just don't think that's necessary because now we have this plugin API instead. So yeah, so the config, the Pocket Pages config is down to a plugins array, debug settings, and whatever else you provide in the config, but that's it. We're going to take this boot out of here. Now here it is indexing all of the physical files available in the Pocket Pages root. And that's a recursive thing. And we'll end up with a list of relative paths of all the possible files. Addressable files, this is different. Those should really be called routable files. In fact, I'm going to change that name right now. Let's go routable files. Yeah, routable files. If the file name starts with a plus, it is not routable. It also is not routable if it's named private. Now, I could change this a little bit to just anything with an underscore is not routable. Anything with a plus or an underscore is not routable. I could do that. So is that smart though? Are there any files that traditionally start with underscore that you would want to serve? Maybe. So let's do it this way. Let's go file name equals that base, and then not routable equals, if it starts with a plus or if it starts with private, it's not routable. Then we say if not routable includes fname, return false, otherwise, what's this now? Oh, if path parts contain, so if any piece of the path contains the word private, right? This is different logic than what I thought it was. What should we do for this? So currently it allows pluses in path segments, but just not in the file node. Do I want that? Do I want people to be using pluses and prefixes like that? I don't think I do. So let's do this where we say if it's not routable if it has a plus or a private in it. Let's make these regexes instead. So this is going to be if it starts with a plus, and this one's going to be if it just is private, and we'll have Cloud fix that for us. All right, so it's filtering the physical files out, and it's telling us that if anything starts with a plus or anything starts, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just see if this blows up in some kind of way. So we're saying if it starts with a plus or a minus, in fact, we'll just put it in here, plus minus like that. If it starts with a plus or a minus, sorry, not a plus or a minus, well, let's do plus, minus, or underscore. Yeah, so anything that starts with plus, minus, or underscore is not routable. We're not going to allow those routes to happen if it starts with it. Okay, that's fine. I don't think that's actually going to break anything that we want happening. Because, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to name a directory with a plus in front of it, call a directory plus load, and then have the file plus load.js. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so now we loop through the routable files and we examine each route. We get the absolute path, the relative path, and the parts that we split. Oh, but and we're filtering out groups that start with parentheses. So I'm going to rename this and call it parts without group names. That's fine. All right. Now we read the content of that routable file and we calculate the SHA. And now the route is the relative path, the absolute path, the fingerprint, the asset prefix, which is the last part of the path, the file node of the path. Now this one here should pre-process. We need to completely take that Boolean out of there. Should pre-process, doesn't belong in there anymore. That's going to be handled by the plugin system. So we will get that out of there. Good. So now segments is path without group names. We've got the node name and the param name. If the segment matches the bracketed syntax, it has a param name as well. Yeah, see, now here we go, middlewares and layouts and loaders. Okay, and then here it says if it's not supposed to pre-process, we're done, because it's only going to ever be served as static content, I suppose. Let's go down in middleware handler and look at this should pre-process. It's going to be up here. If we're not supposed to pre-process the route, we're just serving a static file on that route. Yeah, so what should we do about that? Kuyano says, thank you for doing Pocket Host, recently purchased the Flounders package. Good job, man. Thank you for purchasing the Flounders package. That really helps us out. Even though it's a lifetime deal, you know, it's kind of like you're just paying your membership up front instead, and that helps us scale out the system. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Nick, you're saying I'm a Svelte user. We use pluspage.svelte as an example. Not sure why. Yeah, I borrowed a lot of this stuff from SvelteKit as well, just in terms of like magic file names. Instead of plus page, we're using plus index because that's a little more of the PHP style. Nick's a flounder too. Hell yeah. That's awesome, Nick. Thank you. Yeah, guys. I mean, I think lifetime deals are kind of what's happening now. There's a lot of stuff out there about subscriptions and subscription fatigue. And then there's a lot of stuff out there also saying subscriptions are the future. So like, I don't know which way it goes, but I'm kind of more of like either annual or lifetime is how I like to do stuff. You know, like when I bought Cursor, I got their annual deal. When I don't know if I have any lifetime deals. I just bought Camtasia, but that's an annual deal as well. So yeah, but I think more people are starting to offer lifetime deals. Yeah, totally, Nick. Save big in the long run, of course. It's good for both of us, right? Because it gives you peace of mind. You don't have to worry about paying anymore, and it gives us more resources up front to build the thing out. You're like an angel investor in some kind of sense, right? Where you're providing some of that early funding that we would normally get from like venture capitalists or something like that, but I hate all that stuff. I'd rather work with you guys and have the community fund it and just let it grow organically. So yeah, Nick, you're saying that you're not a heavy user. Well, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who come to PocketBased are not super power developers yet. At least not on PocketBased, but more and more people are building like full scale apps with it. And Pocket Host is sometimes what they're choosing for their hosting environment. So hosting providers. So yeah, it's cool. It's coming along and I like helping people too, Nick. You'll find me kind of day and night on Discord if people are having little problems or whatever. I just like that people are getting up and trying to do stuff. I find that very inspiring. I find this very inspiring right here, this conversation that we're having. I do these live streams kind of for me in a way, because I find that if I just sort of silo and isolate and I don't reach out and connect with people, sometimes I can get way off course and not even realize it. And so this helps me kind of stay on course. Like even right now, as I'm talking through this plugin architecture stuff, this is stuff that I've been stuck on for days. And now that I'm just having a conversation with you guys about it, it's going a lot better for me. So yeah, I just have to, I'm very affected by if people have advice or suggestions about YouTube. I'm very affected by that. And sometimes that has a freezing effect on me because I get overloaded with information. So I have to remember, just keep live streaming every day. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be super organized, but I'm going to get out there every day and keep improving my skills. So let's get back into it here. We are in here. We're thinking about this whole should pre-process thing. I took this flag out of the route builder logic. And I'm curious now what should happen with this, because we don't know, without asking the plugins, we don't know if something needs to be pre-processed or not. In other words, if it needs to run through a rendering engine. So either we load the plugins in the Bootstrap and we simply ask them, hey, do you need to pre-process this file? And if they say yes, we do it. Or we just do it here every time on every request. I generally like to hoist things into the cache if I can. Why compute it every request if you're not required to, if the answer doesn't change? And I can't see that the answer would change, like if a certain file should be pre-processed or not. Like, is that going to change based on other variables or like the time of day or something like that, where you would pre-process one versus not pre-processing it? I can't really see that setting would change. But then I've also used plenty of libraries where it didn't anticipate a plugin doing something or needing something, and then the architecture was brittle. So I think just want to ask all the plugins right here. So it's a routable file. Now we want to know, is any plugin planning on handling this? And if it's not, we're going through to the default. So I'm just going to call this now. Instead, I'm just going to call it, maybe I'll just call it, yeah, should pre-process equals plugin dot some, yeah, what do we want to do here? Plugin, okay, should pre-process, and then we want to pass it. Let me see if I can go to the type definition here of the plugin. Okay, yeah, so we've got this on render context. We need now a context which is an on pre-process context, and that is it the same? It's not the same. I think we'll just call it on pre-process context for now. So it gets the route only at this point, because that's all we have. We haven't even created the API, nor will we if we're not doing anything with it. So it just wants to know if it should pre-process, right? And that's an optional plugin handler. It wants to know if it should pre-process that route. So right, and then we'll go here. If not should pre-process, then serving static files. Maybe we should call it will render instead of pre-process. How about just process, like will process or handles? Handles. I like that. Let's call it handles. So we're going to rename this symbol, call it handles. And then we'll rename this symbol and call it the handles context. And then in here, we'll call this is handled. And if it's not handled, yeah, okay, this makes a lot of sense. If it's not handled by any plugin, then we're just going to return the static file path. Oh, Cuyano, I think I'm saying that right. I would say Cuyano. Yeah, subscription fatigue, man. Sorry I missed your message there, but yeah, totally. Subscription fatigue. It's like, dude, if you looked at my my budget, my little my personal budget, I have this category that it says things to cancel, and it's got all the subscriptions in there, Netflix and Hulu and bullshit like that. It's all in my things to cancel. All right, this feels good. Is handled. If some plugin handles it, then it's handled. If it's not handled, we just return. Okay, so if the file exists, and I'm going to change this, but no plugin handles it, serve statically. At this point, we have a route Pocket Pages needs to handle. Right. Yes. Found matching route. Good. Parsed route. Yes. Okay. I want to hoist this try up a little bit though, because we're running user code that could fail. Like this plugin stuff, like who the hell knows what's being run in there. So I'm going to put it inside this big try. Okay, working our way down the page now. The first thing we need to do, these plugins get initialized for every request. So where it says initialize deferred SSE, let's go down into SSE here, and we're going to say const SSE plugin factory is a plugin factory. And let's see if we can just import this from somewhere. Import plugin factory from, say, ... Pocket Pages source lib types. Is that going to work? Is that even where it is? Is it in plugin factory? Yeah, plugin factory is here. So that's a plugin. The plugin factory, name this config instead. Yeah, so it is there. Maybe we need like ... Yeah, there we go. Okay, we're just going to snake it from there for now. Yeah, we'll fix it later. But anyway, so what's going to happen here is it needs to return a plugin. It needs to return a plugin. And that's an empty object is a valid plugin. Cuyano, is that absolutely about how to pronounce your name? Cuyano. I'm big on name pronunciation. Like when I meet people with names I don't usually hear, or when they say their name and I'm not used to, like I've never heard the name before, I always like to get into it a little bit and ask them, how do you pronounce your name? Like how do you pronounce your name? Because a lot of people, they'll just be like, it's whatever, you can just like call me whatever. But I like calling people, what they want to be called. So Cuyano. Nick? I'm saying Nick, right? Okay, back to work. All right, so check it out. We've got the beginning of the SSE plugin factory. This is where, so this plugin, watch it. Let's go back to the middleware handler. Every time this handler is called, it calls load plugins, and load plugins will require that plugin and call it with the factory config every time. So every time the plugins are loaded, you get a fresh copy of that object, which means if you have any local variables, you don't want to store them in the module level here. You want to store them inside the plugin factory. So that means this thing right here, deferred SSE, goes in here. That's where that initialization of it happens. And in fact, this one here, this const SSE, deferred SSE filter, that happens here too. I see we have a type missing. Is it in here somewhere? Deferred, it's not in there. Where is it? Deferred SSE filter. Where'd we put it? Where is it? Let's search for it. Deferred SSE filter. It doesn't seem like it's anywhere right now, so that's okay. We can recreate it. So down here in plugin SSE, we've got an SSE filter here. You know where I can find this though? I can find this in the main branch if I want to. It's really good to find. Thanks for asking. Sweet. Cuyano. Yeah, we lost a couple things here somewhere. I wonder, maybe it's still in middleware handler somewhere. Let me just go see if it's still in here. Yeah, right here, deferred SSE filter. Cool. So let's take this and we're gonna put it down. Oh, we have that already. Okay, yeah. So then what we're what we're missing is the one called SSE filter. Where's that coming from? SSE filter. Oh, here it is. Oh yeah, okay, I just missed it. All right, so there's that type that we wanted. So we're gonna pull that type down into here. We're gonna define the SSE filter type. Cool. All right, so we've got this deferred SSE filter, and now I'm seeing that it actually needs a reference to the API. So that means that this has to happen either in on render, or there needs to be like some other like before render kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, this is maybe actually a before render plugin, because look down here, if deferred SSE has a topic, it does an SSE send and returns JSON 200. It never even gets to the rendering part. What should we do for this? On render just filters through all the content, so this thing doesn't care about that. It also adds an API method. We need some more events here. I mean, this is fine where we initialized the deferred SSE. That's fine. But down here in the middleware handler, right here, we create the API with the request pages context. Okay. And then before we start doing anything, we need plugins. For each plugin, we need to call plugin.onAPI, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's called onAPI. So we've got onAPI context, or onAPI, and we have an API context here. And at this point, we have the API and the absolute path. We have both of those for the API context. We also have the route. That's also available at this point. Route is available up there too on render context. If it's got the route, it's got the absolute path. Oh, the absolute path is already stored in the route. We don't need absolute path separately. Okay, go back. We don't need absolute path is not necessary if you're already passing the route. It's in there. Okay, so I think what I now understand here is we have export type plugin context base, and that is, I bet Cloud's going to figure out that it's the route. Yep, like that. But yeah, it missed that. So the render context has the API, and the API has the API and the base. All right, that's all fine. Now we're going in here and we're allowing them to extend the API. So I'm going to call this should I call it on API ready, on extend API, on API patch? Wonder what Cloud says here. Let's see. I'm trying to decide what to call plugin.onAPI. It's the event handler where the plugins should add any API methods that need to be added to the context before any user code or other plugin code cross further. Let's just see what suggestions it comes up with here. A few cleaner names. Extend API. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, on extend API. Oh, fuck. Why didn't I think of that? Extend API, on extend API. Yes, of course. Of course, that's exactly what we're doing. So this is on extend API. Hell yeah. And then this is the, we're going to, and we'll just, I think we're going to just rename this to render context. Yeah, that feels good. On extend API. Hell yeah, that's what it should be called, of course. All right, we've got the on extend API, and it wants the route and the API. Route and API. Cool. So now the plugin has an opportunity to extend the API, which is exactly what we're doing down here in SSE. We're going on extend API, and we're doing, I think I do kind of want to call it SSE send. I want to call it that, and then it's going to be that exact signature is fine. Const SSE send. Okay, here's the actual method for it. So we're gonna put, oh no, that's not the, method for it. Hold on here. So SSE send is a low level thing, and we're gonna go into PocketPages plugin, SSE. All right, and we're going to npm install PocketBased JSVM. I just realized we never created our package here. So PocketPages plugin, SSE. Yeah, and the main is going to be dist index.js, SSE plugin for PocketPages. That's fine. We'll get rid of the rest of all this for now. We'll do this little 0.0.1 thing. Okay, and now we will add that PocketBased JSVM dependency there. Cool. And then we need a TS config here, and it's going to have compiler options. We want PocketBased JSVM. Cool. Includes. Cool. And we'll probably steal the TS up config as well. Put it in here. What does it say? Yeah, that's cool. I don't think we really probably don't need a DTS, but this is fine. Everything is external here. All right, let me see if I can reload and get this there. Okay, now we have JSVM typings in here. So this stuff like subscription broker and app, these all have type definitions now. So that's good. Okay, we need the onExtend API to allow anything to be added to it. Let's see if that worked. Okay, that did work. So we want to the SSE send. Oh right, it'll send immediately if what? Oh, I remember what this is. This is where you set the SSE topic and the sending filter, and then the rendered content is actually what gets sent, or that's the rendered content is the message. So right. Okay, I remember how this goes now. So this stuff right here goes up into SSE send, and the way it works is this message is message or filter, and it's a string or an SSE filter. If it's an SSE filter, then it assumes the message will be captured as rendered content. I'm noticing this info is coming from somewhere. Let me go up and look in the middleware here. Logging is coming from the global API, right? So we can say info equals API. That'll work. Beautiful. On extend API, we add an API method called SSE send. And down here, this is the on render one. And I can see we need a little more control over what on render is doing. So, but we will do an on render here, and we'll say if the topic is deferred, then render the content in a stringified version. And then here's the rub right here, is that this on render needs a way to eject from further renders, or I think we want to call it like, maybe we want an on render and then separate from that we want an on response. Maybe this one is supposed to be like on response. Let's see if we can figure that out here. So we initialize the deferred SSE back in the middleware handler, after the loaders, after the content rendered. Then down here, right, we try to parse it. If it's a JSON response, we return the JSON right away. That almost feels like a plugin as well, like auto JSON response. Let's look down here again. So yeah, this one is sending a JSON response. Yeah, so it's like on render, on extend API, on, yeah, this isn't rendering. This is like, it should be like on response. And then if it handles it, it should return true. Otherwise, it should return, I guess. I'm just going to say if not deferred topic, return false. Otherwise, send it out over SSE, stringify the content, send it out over SSE, respond with JSON. Interesting. Yeah, so I think we need one here called on response, and the response context is the same as the render context. Okay, so on response. Oh, it's almost the same as, okay, but this one, it's a Boolean, right? on response handlers return a Boolean. And then the way we do this is we say plugin of plugins. If plugin on response is true, then we break. Yeah, and then this one here, this JSON renderer one, we're going to go up here to load plugins, and we're going to return our map of plugins, but we're also going to return this JSON responder one, which is a custom plugin. Yeah, so I don't know if I actually want this right in here. Probably not. Now that I've done that, I probably want it here where we have plugin of plugins. Maybe I'll just say const JSON responder is a plugin and it equals that stuff. And then this becomes quite a bit simpler. Someone just purchased a choppers. We'll give them, what kind of emoji should we give them? Let's give them an ice cream cone. Cool. All right. So if any plugin handled on response, we break. Now this layout routing stuff, this is gonna move up somewhere in here. And I think I can hoist this JSON responder all the way out of the middleware. Yeah, I can do that. That's good. So fix me deferred SSE. I think we just did that. Now here's another one that can be a plugin where it's just an HTML 200. So let's call this default responder. It's a plugin, and yeah, it just returns content as HTML 200, right? And so then down here, we have the responders where we have a default responder, a JSON responder, and all the plugins get to go first. If for some reason we get down to here, we throw new error, no plugin handled the response right there. Cool. So we're down to just the layout rendering, which is really just it's more on render stuff. I think I want to handle these layouts with a new event. Let's take a little break here to think about it. Do you guys know Sam from Early Morning Dev? This dude right here. You guys know this guy? He runs a great dev channel, and he just asked me a question, which is, do I know anything about Caddy server? I do not. What is it? caddyserver.com. Caddy server, right? Yeah, Caddy server, the ultimate server, makes your sites more secure, reliable, stable. Okay, that's kind of a cool splash screen there. Caddy start. Oh wait, is this just Caddy? Oh, sorry, I thought this was. Yeah, Sam, I do know what Caddy is. I was thinking that you were like that you'd found something like some other server that was using Caddy underneath or something. I didn't realize the domain was just called caddyserver.com. But yeah, Caddy is awesome, and like everybody's saying, Nick's saying it in the chat right now. Yeah, so Nick, go check out Sam. He's gonna come on the live stream here, I think Tuesday or Thursday, something like that, and we're gonna talk all about what he's up to, because he did one for me, this interview right here, back when I had a bushier beard, and we talked about all kinds of stuff, Pocket-based stuff. It's a good one to check out. So, but anyway, he's a good guy, and his channel's growing. Look, he's almost at 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. And he interviewed me, and I'm going to interview him. I'm more sort of Pocket-based. I'm Pocket-based focused on my channel, and he's sort of there, like every other video seems to be something about Pocket-based, but then he gets into some stuff down here that's like not Pocket-based related. So he's more of a generalist. I'm just going all in on Pocket-based. Anyway, yeah, he asked me if I knew what Caddy was, and yeah, hell yeah, Caddy's amazing. Nick says, if you're looking for template rendering, I'm looking at converting my HTML processing library into Go. It's written in PHP right now. Yes, big picture, Nick, what are we doing here? Yes, I'm looking for template rendering. Right now we're using EJS in PocketPages, and I'm looking at potentially using JSX. Where is it here? There's a deep repo in here somewhere that knows how to parse JSX and stuff like that, and I was considering porting that as one of the rendering engines. We also support Markdown rendering in here as well. You'll see that if you hang around in the stream a little longer. We'll get into converting the Markdown thing into a plugin. But yeah, HTML's pages rips them apart, reassembles the pages on the fly. It's fast too. Yeah, I bet it is. We're using the Goja JSVM engine, and it's probably an order of magnitude slower than a pure Go solution. And one of the things I'm thinking of down the road is making some of these plugins so that they can, if a native extension is available in the PocketBased build, that it will use it instead, right? So you can like extend PocketBased with, say, a native Markdown renderer, and it'll use that instead. Oh man, that was good. Nick, you're talking about running full SvelteKit apps behind PocketBased, right? So running a Node.js process alongside the PocketBased process. I am attempting to get away from that whole model. I get why you're doing it, and those front-end frameworks are amazing. SvelteKit, Next.js, Astro, but they all require a Node.js backend unless you want to just static site generate the whole thing. So now you have two backends, right? You've got PocketBased and Node.js running side by side. That doesn't make as much sense to me. If you're going to go that direction, I wish somebody would make like a PocketBased clone in Node instead of in Go, because then at least you'd be back to one runtime. So I wrote an article about this, Nick. It's on PocketHost. If you go down to docs here, there's something way down here. Server-side PocketBased is an anti-pattern, and this is talking about calling PocketBased from another backend. And this is written a little provocatively. It's not, of course, it's not always an anti-pattern. It's just often enough I find people have gotten themselves into the weeds if they've landed there. So I wrote this article to explain to people maybe what you should do instead, like using direct client access, using JS hooks for privileged operation, consider static site generation. And then I have a little bit here about when it makes sense. It's generally an anti-pattern, right? But there are places where it does make sense. And then Ghani has a whole discussion on this too. He wrote a big essay about why he thinks PocketBased is mostly for SPA applications and what you can do about it in terms of, like trying to pass the authentication tokens around and stuff like that. He's talking about how Supabase tried to work around this and blah, blah, blah. I think it's an anti-pattern for most cases, and it's better to avoid it, which is why I wrote PocketPages instead. It seemed like it was written specifically for you. Yeah, I don't know, man. A lot of people land there, and a lot of people who do land there took a wrong turn somewhere. And they're trying to, like mush these two backend systems together when it's really indicative of a deeper architecture consideration that they just haven't seen from the right angle yet. So a lot of those conversations do turn into, you could just write a JS hook and be a lot better off and static site generate the thing instead. Now you don't need a Node backend at all. I'm trying really hard to make the JSVM a thing where that's the scripting extension for PocketBased, and I'm trying to make it robust enough and compatible enough that you can actually, get some decent packages and performance out of it. Because right now you try to import a package into the JSVM, I give you like a 90% chance it's going to fail to load because of just something Goja can't consume. Maybe it has async syntax in it. Maybe it has promises. Maybe it refers to Node APIs that don't exist in the JSVM. Maybe it refers to browser APIs that don't exist in the JSVM, and there are no shims or anything like that. So there's if you have a pure JavaScript packet, that generally will work. But as soon as you get into any event-based stuff like I/O, the package is incompatible and you have to port it over. So it's a giant pain. It would be maybe a lot better if PocketBased embedded an actual Node.js runtime, but that's not what he did. And I think there may be some reasons for it. So I'm treating the JSVM as a new runtime environment, and I'm trying to build up a lot of support for it, and that's kind of what Pocket Pages is all about. It's we're trying. No, Nick, rewriting PocketBased as a Node app would probably not be the way to go. There's so much. Go look at the code base for PocketBased. It's huge by now. It's got a ton of momentum. It would be a hard project to chase and remain compatible. You could make a PocketBased inspired Node.js backend, right? That had kind of like little admin for collections. In fact, there's one out there already that's doing that. PocketBased versus, what's the other one? PocketBased, let me just say PocketBased clone. Dude, what's it called? PocketBased. There's one out there. I forget what it's called. PocketBased clone. It's like PocketBased clone. It's faster than PocketBased. The heck is it called? Maybe I can just ask Gemini here, what is the PocketBased clone? Claims to be faster than PocketBased. Rust, I think. PocketBased alternative. Yeah, does anybody know what it's called? Oh, maybe it's this one. Maybe it's Trailbase. Maybe this is where I found it. Check it out. It's called Trailbase. Come on, man. How come you're not? All right, fine. Trailbase, a blazingly fast open source application server built in ES6. Okay, yeah, it says it's built in TypeScript, but a lot of it, 60% of it is Rust. ES6 JS6 TS runtime. Okay, but that's not a Node runtime though. See, so like what are they doing here? JSTS APIs, the runtime. Before we get into that, let's talk about the runtime itself. At its heart, it's a pool of V8 JS engines. Okay, this is good. Yeah, right. Alongside a runtime that supports basic tasks such as file IO, web request timers. However, it's not compatible with the Node.js runtime, at least for now, since it would pull in a lot of extra dependencies. Note further, the pool of workers isolates does not share state, i.e. you cannot use global state to reliably share state across requests. You should rely on the database for Okay, yeah. So he's using Chromium or V8, but it's still not a Node.js runtime. It probably supports event loops, maybe. I don't know. He doesn't really get into the details of it here a ton, but I'm imagining maybe it supports event loops and therefore it would support like set timeout, async, stuff like that. But it's doing the same thing. It's a pool of engines. That's what Gani's doing with PocketBased, right? So yeah, I really just want SQLite over HTTP replication between servers. That's how I found PocketBased. Well, Nick, why don't you just head over to, why don't you just go to Terso, man? If you just want SQLite, it's right here, and they have a whole API to it, and they'll do all your replication and load balancing and horizontal scaling and everything like that. I mean, yeah, if you're not looking for all of the extra accoutrements that PocketBased adds, such as API security and in fact a whole REST API layer and a front-end client and backups and restores and migration. What else does it add? Support for file uploads and storing to S3, right? If you don't need any of that stuff, then you could, I guess, go with something like Terso. What else are you saying here? If people built around Bun for this stuff, I think that would be much better. Yeah, probably. Bun's a little nicer. People keep avoiding it though because, Bun's not, in some cases, they're not super responsive to bug reports and things like that. I've stumbled across more than one occasion where there's just like a long-standing issue with Bun. In fact, that just happened to me today. If you're working in a mono repo, it hoists the dependencies and there's no way to tell it not to. So your individual packages have no node modules folder inside them. And that's bad for the JSVM because then the JSVM can't find the node modules because it will stop searching as soon as it hits a package JSON. So it doesn't search up to the workspace's parent level to find the Node.js, to find the node modules there. There's nothing that Bun will do about it. So I had to go back to PNPM instead of Bun. So in terms of the package manager side of Bun, sometimes they're not super responsive to issues like that. And it creates a situation where, some of us have to go back to our old ways. But in general, I like Bun. I've never tried writing a server like an HTTP server in Bun, but I hear they're a little faster. But then you could just, I don't know, if you want to stay in the JavaScript land, then yeah, Bun is probably the fastest option. Yeah, it is frustrating about the workspace issue because it's like it becomes critical for anything that's using standard node module resolution, because standard node module resolution stops as soon as it hits a package JSON. It won't continue searching up to the root directory looking for node module folders or directories. It will stop when it hits a package JSON, and that's the boundary. So it really is problematic for cases like mine where the JSVM is so basic that you can't even add additional search paths for your node modules. Ghani just hasn't gotten there yet. Maybe he will. He's a little reluctant to add things that are maybe not very popular or very often used features. He doesn't want to clutter his code base with that. I get it. He's a very discerning guy. He has rejected basically every suggestion I've made to improve PocketBased for the JS community in particular. I think he's just not very receptive to that. He doesn't want people building apps in the JSVM. He wants it to just remain like very small little, hooks. And if you need to go beyond that, just use PocketBased as a framework and compile and go and, deploy your binaries. And there's like a whole mess of us out there who don't want to recompile Go, who don't even want to learn Go. And I think he's just not about that. And it's his project, so the best I can do is make suggestions. Yeah, I don't think Terso is self-hosted, although Convex just became self-hosted, and that one might be interesting to you. Convex dev. I really, really like these guys. They do TypeScript first, server side everything, real time, very responsive, very awesome. Convex is self-hosted, which is why I was avoiding them before. And you can get up to 20 projects for free, and then $25 per month after that. Plus they have usage-based billing and stuff. I mean, it's actually pretty affordable. I get nervous about usage-based billing. I just I don't know. I don't like it. That's why I'm avoiding it on Pocket Host for as long as I can. I just want people to, just don't worry about it. We'll deal with it if there's a problem. That's how I am approaching it. And I know that's kind of Wild West or whatever, but I don't like usage-based pricing. But anyway, if you haven't checked out Convex, maybe this would be good for you because it has its own database built in, some kind of real-time distributed thing that they built, but you can also use your own packages. You can have SQLite somewhere and, have at it. So you can check out Convex too. I mean, if you're not really super married to PocketBased. I'm just a PocketBased guy, man. I've looked at Convex, I've looked at Firebase, Supabase, other backends. What's another? I'm blanking on the name of it. I don't know. There are all these backends as services, right? And I do like the option of being able to self-host. I don't necessarily like self-hosting, but I do like the option of being able to. And they just made this thing, self-hosting with Convex. It's the featured article. So they just came out with self-hosting for this, and kind of also a commitment to support it long term. So yeah, maybe Convex is good. I thought Terso actually is an open source project though that you could self-host if you wanted to. I mean, I don't think they have local development. They've got that, but yeah, it's Terso libsql right here. You can do it. Yeah, self-hosting Terso, right? Terso created a server mode for libsql, SQLD, right? And you can self-host SQLD. So there's probably a Docker or Coolify way that you actually could self-host Terso if you wanted to. So between Terso and Convex, I think you've got two potentially solid options there for self-hosting, but PocketBased to me is so straightforward compared to those other options that I just am going to stick with PocketBased myself. And that's why I built Pocket Host though too, is because I didn't want to keep deploying project after project. Yeah, I saw that, Nick. I saw that you can use libsql inside PocketBased. I think that is kind of only of academic interest, because the reality is real-time, distributed, horizontally scaled PocketBase is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it doesn't matter if you can scale your SQLite database endlessly. You're not going to be able to scale PocketBase horizontally. So I guess you could use it just as a way of having like point-in-time backups, and you could use it for the other features, but you're not getting horizontal scaling out of PocketBase. It's just probably not ever. So you can make some homebrew solutions to horizontally scaling PocketBase, and I can talk about that maybe on a different stream, because I have not only done research into that, but I have some working prototypes of ways to scale out and mirror real-time data from a central Pocket-based server, so like an origin server, out to some edges. Those real-time connections can go down, and when they do go down, you can miss events. So you have to have a way to detect when you've missed events and when your edges are out of date, and somehow get up to date appropriately. I mean, this is all stuff that, Redis streams have already solved. Terso has solved it. Like, if you need a horizontally scaled system, it probably is better to look at something other than PocketBase, because there's just a lot going on with PocketBase that won't scale horizontally, and you're going to lose a lot of features if you attempt to scale PocketBase horizontally. Like, you could, in theory, no, I mean, it's like a non-starter, because even if you ran PocketBase on all your edges, right, and each one had its own SQLite database, even if those SQLite databases could stay perfectly synchronized, PocketBase's logic and internals rely on an event system that's built on top of SQLite. It's not built into SQLite, which means any hooks or model updates or any of those events that get talked about on the PocketBase site. Like, let's go down here. All of these event hooks right here, these rely on synthetic events generated inside the PocketBase code. These events are not coming out of SQLite. So it's possible to alter the SQLite database in a way that PocketBase doesn't know that anything even happened. And not only does that kill your ability to use these hooks effectively, but the internals of PocketBase use these same hooks for a lot of internal housekeeping and other types of logic. Real-time system is completely broken if you tried to do this. There's just so much built on that synthetic event system that is not linked to SQLite physical events that PocketBase isn't going to scale horizontally. It's just not. So you can build your own sort of edge caching, mirroring kind of deal on top of PocketBase, and that's what I've done. But as far as like, people have this idea of like, oh, I'm just going to run PocketBase on 30 edges around the world and use Terso to keep them all in sync, and it's like, that would be cool. That would be cool, but ain't happening with PocketBase. Maybe there's something to look into there. Maybe you could, maybe if libsql or libsqlite, whatever it is, if it has a way to hook into events at the physical database level, if you can get notified when rows change, columns change, schema changes, all the changes, if you can get notified of those and update your code appropriately and update all of your internal state appropriately, then maybe you could get like a scalable real-time system out of it. But at that point, you've just reinvented convex. So just go use convex instead. It's awesome. It's TypeScript first. They've solved all this stuff. I might, if convex had been around when I started all this, maybe I would have not even really looked at PocketBase, and I would have just looked at convex, except they just now came out with the self-hosted version, and I was just, I'm just nervous about metered billing. So yeah, I know about that data change notification hook API. It does require C bindings. You can also get to it from Node.js. I actually wrote and submitted a pull request to, I forget which SQLite project, but one of them to get to those bindings, because I was using it that way. Yeah, right. So, right. Seago is also the reason why it's not a Chromium runtime and why it's a Goja runtime instead for the JSVM in PocketBased. So yeah, all of those are really good points. I think if you want a horizontal, scalable, real-time system, Convex is probably your best bet. And then if you didn't want to pay to host it with them, you're going to have to contend with all of the scalability issues that come with like running Convex on multiple nodes. And I think at that point you're in for some kind of nightmare project anyway. It's just really hard to build a scalable, real-time global system. And that's what we're trying to do with the Pocker project. Pocker it's my code name for the bespoke Pocket-based Docker container replace. I'm trying to get out of Docker, trying to get out of traditional OSI containers altogether, because I think that we can build a container technology all in Golang that is optimized for PocketBased. And I have prototypes of it running already where, I can launch 1,000 instances at once on a little 256 megabyte VPS. So it has a lot of potential. It means that we have to contend with our own security and isolation procedures and techniques and strategies. And, I think that we can, though. I think that we can, because Go's threading model is preemptive now. It's not cooperative. There was a time with Go threads where you had to, it had this like cooperative threading model underneath where it would only return execution control to the Golang runtime at certain key junctions in the code, like calling a function or returning from a function or doing some IO. Those were opportunities where the runtime could take over again, but now it's even more preemptive than that. So I think even if a Pocket-based process or Pocket-based server did get out of control, it would still not affect the other tenants on the system. Yeah, dude, man, if you want to help with the Pocker project, that would be awesome, because that's where Pocket Host 2.0 is going. It's going to this massively scalable Fly network. Let me show you this, man. Let's go to Fly and we'll look at Pocker here. So I've got currently all these machines running. There's like 40 or so machines running all around the world, and they're all running a very early version of Pocker that all it does is take traffic from the edge and route it through a VPS to a different server, which right now is our single DigitalOcean server in San Francisco. But this alone, by routing through the VPS and having access points all around the globe, this has improved latency significantly. And when we start being able to run PocketBased on each of these edges, and when the system has the capability to actually move a PocketBased instance over to a different edge where it'll be a better fit for the traffic profile, when that stuff gets in place on Pocker, I think it's going to be game over. No one's going to be able to touch us at that point, because it's just going to be incredible. Let me look at this. There's some kind of Grafana thing they do here. Where do I get all my metrics? Let's see. It's not live logs, although we can look at the live logs and you can see like this is all the traffic flowing through here right now. It's just like going, right? And you can see it's like a lot of it's going into SJC, but like here's one GRU, CDG. These are all different regions. Here's Singapore right here. So here's, I don't know what that one is, IAD, EWR. Yeah, these are all regions. But anyway, this is live Pocket Host traffic just cruising through here, and you can see it's hitting like different instance names from different IPs, and this is live. This is live traffic happening right now. There's a way to get into these metrics. I learned how to access Prometheus or set up. Okay, yeah, Prometheus on fly.io. No, it's not that. It's dashboards. Yeah, where's that? Okay, fly.io dashboard. Yeah, where is it? Where'd they put it? I was just looking at this a while ago. Okay, go to apps. We got Oh, this is personal. Hold on. Pocket host, Pocker. Where is the, man, I lost it. Is it activity? It's not activity. We just looked there. Metrics. Yeah, HTTP status codes, blah, blah, blah. Data transfer, firecracker load average, none of that stuff. Live logs, search, deployments, certification, registry. I do not know how to get to the cool Grafana visual shit anymore. Oh, maybe it's this one. Open Grafana. Is that the little, yeah, this is it. This is the place. Okay, hold on. So we go to home. Check this out. Here are all our regions right here. And you can see like SJC is super busy. Let's get over to it. SJC right here is super busy because all of the other edges are proxying through to SJC over the virtual private network. But we now have PocketBased or Pocket host access points all around the globe. There's even one down there in Africa. There's one down, that's not Antarctica, Australia. We've got one in Sydney. Yeah, there's Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, a bunch in Europe. Nothing in Russia or China, well, except for Hong Kong. Yeah, I don't know. They're kind of, that area of the world is a little weird and dark. Dark in terms of, I mean, I'm sure they got a lot of happy things going on there. I meant dark in terms of like, you know, getting a server in there is tough to do. We are not political on this stream. Okay, but anyway, yeah, that's what Pocker is doing right now. It's sitting out there, it's proxying through all the requests to SJC and returning them because SJC is running our Pocket host server right now. But I want to make it so that each of these Pocker nodes will respond to local instances that are requested as well. And once that's working, it'll also work for, if a request comes in on a certain edge, like request comes in at Seattle, it looks up to see where the instance is living. Is it living at SJC? If so, proxy it through. If it's living somewhere else, it's going to proxy through the virtual private network over to the edge that's running the PocketBased instance and then return it. And that virtual private network traffic moves a lot faster than public internet traffic. So that's why getting the proxying working has been so important, and it's been burned in for a couple months, so it's working. Like the proxying is working. The next thing to do is make it possible for the edge nodes to run local PocketBased instances, and then we can point those proxies at multiple edges instead of just to the one SJC edge. Nick, are you now? I'm realizing you're the guy who lives in Susanville, right? Isn't that you? Because you were talking about this you were talking about importing all of those records. I'm glad that worked out for you. 290 million records into an instance a little while ago. So what is that? Like a Pocket host instance, do you mean? That's cool. That's a lot of records. That's a lot of backlog. In fact, you're making me want to check here on Pocket host health just to make sure. Yeah, our server's down to 11 gigs of free space. So I'm going to have to get in there and clear some room for guys like you, or just make the drive bigger. But anyway, good. We got our little break here. We covered a lot of topics. So yeah, there's Convex, there's Terso, there's Pocker. Pocker's probably my future. Pocker and Pocket Pages, I think together are going to be a powerhouse combo for the community, and that's why I'm trying to do this big Pocket Pages refactoring right now. So let me return to the task at hand here, which was trying to figure out how to handle layouts in rendering. It's not the same as an on render exactly. It has to happen after the initial render phase. It's like maybe we need an on layout here. It does modify the content variable and it parses slot. That's true. I think what this should look like, content equals plugins dot reduce. Just kind of see what this is going to do here. So this is going to be, it's going to be called on layout instead, and we will, so we're going to pass in the content's not supposed to be constant. There we go. Let content. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go through the plugins. Let's see here. Hold on. We need this for each out here. So it's going to loop through each layout with path to that layout. And then it's going to pass in the content, pass in the API, pass in the route, and pass in the layout path. Yep. And give each plugin a chance to, we need this in here too. So for each layout, it's going to parse the slots of the content. Where'd that parse slots go? We need that back in the core here. Let me find it. Where did it go? We moved it here to EJS, but we don't want it in EJS. We want it back in, I'm just going to put it up here for now, just so we have it. All right. So for each layout, it's going to parse the current slots of the content, which could change as the layouts get nested. Yeah. Janesville, I've been through there, Nick. Susanville is a weird place, by the way. Somebody told me, and I kind of think this might be accurate, somebody told me that it's primarily a prison town, so you've got, and it's been this way for multiple generations, so you've got a generational divide of guards and inmates, right? And the families of the inmates have moved to Susanville, and the families of the guards have moved to Susanville as well. And that's why when I'm walking down the street in Susanville, I feel like I'm getting side-eyed by people. I think they're trying to figure out like which team I'm on or something like that. I think there's something like that going on in Susanville. Anyway, yeah, traffic proxy might be a good option. All this routing, what are you using for proxying traffic? I'm using a custom proxy that I built in Golang. It's just very lightweight. I don't know what traffic is. I've never heard of that project. Let me just go check it real quick. Cloud native application proxy. I already hate it. Just from the name alone. I already hate it. What is this? Simplify and automate. Yeah, this is bullshit. I'm not doing it, Nick. I'm gonna roll my own. I have like a very averse reaction to stuff that looks like that, because it makes it sound like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna bolt this on and it'll work, and it never does. It never does. Anyway, thanks for that recommendation, though. I do appreciate it, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who would rather use that than roll their own, but I'm probably going to stick with rolling my own. All right, anyway, what are we doing here? So I'm looping through the layouts, parsing the slots available in the current content, assigning those slots to the API variables. Yep, that's fine. Then I'm going through each of the plugins and I'm calling the on layout for each plugin. Yeah. I think this is the move. So let's go back into the plugin definition here, and we're going to go on layout. Cloud already knows what I'm trying to do because Cloud is just that way. And it wants, I want that layout path too. Cool. So there we go. We got on layout working in theory. In theory, it's working. Now, down here, this one called render file is the EJS version of this of the layout processing. So this little render file right here needs to go down into the EJS plugin. See, because here's the render file function, and what we want to do is say EJS plugin factory is a plugin factory with a config, and we're just gonna import plugin factory from PocketPages for now. We'll reference the packages later, but see here on layout is going to render file, layout API, and there's more to it though. What else was it doing? Let me take a peek at the diff here, see if I can find it. I think I'll just do it this way. Okay, I got the description of Susanville right. Nick says I got the description of Susanville right, but that I got traffic wrong. Those are my words. He says he's been using traffic for years. He says rolling my own is good. Yeah, man, that was a very knee-jerk reaction. I didn't mean to call your suggestion bullshit. I just I meant like something about it caused a very like avoidant aversion feeling in me, and I do appreciate the suggestions and everything. I just I reacted a little too quickly there, and maybe I'll go look at it again. That's possible. It's possible I missed something. I don't know. There's just something weird about, and I know you're not asking me to like defend this or anything, but why don't I like this? Let's talk about that. I don't like this because first of all, I see products and solutions. Anytime I see those in the menus of sites, it's like I already know that this thing is like working in some kind of mental model or paradigm that I will hate. I see this thing that says get a demo. I know that means I'm going to hate it. I see this like fancy dashboard thing here. I think that means I'm going to hate it as well. Somewhere in here, pricing, like maybe they have like a community version or something like that. Look, they're not even publishing their pricing. So that's another reason I think I might hate it. In the docs look like not very developer-y. They look like way too like polished and stuff. Like this whole thing reminds me of so many products and services I've used over the years where it just looks good and doesn't deliver. So that's my like instinctive reaction just based on their site. But that could be wrong. And it might not be wrong for everybody. It might just be that I don't think the way they do about things, and that it just seems like I would be destined for a frustrated experience with them. So anyway, I hope that sounds a little bit better. Yeah, we all got our opinions. That's right. That's right, Nick. We all got our opinions, and if it's working for you, that is awesome. We were just talking to this guy, Guemes Island. I think it's called GuemesIslandMarket.com. Maybe that's not what it's called. GuemesIslandMarket.com. Thought that's what his. Maybe he turned it off or something. But we were talking to this guy on one of our streams a while ago. Let me go pull it up. Where is he? He's down. Where's Gwem? There he is. Yeah, Pocket Host number 28. We were talking to this guy. Oh, maybe it's just GuemesMarket.com. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here's his site. So this guy he comes from more of a DevOps background. And if you watch that stream, you'll find that I have a lot of aversion to his particular approach to like DevOps and deployment and everything like that. And, we found common ground as like, just programmers fighting the good fight and stuff. But like his working process is the kind that I really, really avoid. And yet it works for him. It appeals to him. It makes sense to him. He uses it at his main gig anyway. So it just makes sense. And that's how he's figured out how to use PocketBased and Pocket Host and stuff. And it's awesome. I'm going to have him back on the stream because I would actually like hear from somebody who loves and understands his approach, because I bet there are other people that love and understand that approach too. And by the way, same with you, Nick. If you ever want to come on and talk about some of your approaches and tools that maybe aren't resonating with me, I kind of would like that sort of, I don't really want to overuse the word diversity, but, just people have different approaches to things that are valid for how they think about the world. And I think that's important to have on stream too. So anyway, that was a really interesting conversation. The guy's name is Brian, if you see it there, Brian Klein, and he's up there somewhere in Seattle, just making it happen on his site here. So, and there's actually another live stream, same thing. This guy down here, Von Ling, with heavy paint, he is a total homebrew approach. Like he's frameworkless. He's I thought I preferred a slim approach, but Vaughn is basically entirely frameworkless except for Van.js, and he has 6,000 lines of Van.js packed into one file, and that's his approach. So, he's got that approach. We talked with this guy here, Piers Courtney of Dose Diary. He's a .NET guy. He's compiling everything to WASM and shipping it like that. And he's very much on the Microsoft side of things. So he's got his approach too, which is again, that's another one of I'm not touching .NET, fuck that for me. But he's making it work. And so I like getting people on who have different approaches to see what they're doing. And I learn something from everybody anyway. It's not like I even know what I'm doing. I know what I do, but I don't know what I'm doing. So there's always room for somebody to show me a better way to do something, or just, I don't know, just even a different perspective on it. If you think I look good on camera right now, Brian's the one who helped me with that. He helped me do this chroma key thing that I didn't know about. And so now my little, invisible background deal works better. And yeah, just hit me up Nick, DM me sometime if you want to jump on the stream. Just DM me and we'll set up a time. I have this little calendar link and you can kind of choose whatever works for your schedule. Yeah, I have a minimalist mentality too, and build up as needed. Yeah, Nick, you're saying run websites on almost nothing, including things like a Pi Zero. Yeah, Pi. It's been a few years since I played around with Raspberry Pis. I think I was doing like some kind of web application, embedded Node.js web app on a Pi for it was for this weird like Porch Pirate anti-theft kind of project. I think that's the last time I used the Pi. And I have all the back editions of the Raspberry Pi magazines, MagPi, at least up to a certain date. I don't know if they're still doing them or not, but yeah, Raspberry Pi is fun as shit. Embedded systems programming in general is really fun. I love it. But yeah, just DM me, Nick, and we'll get you on stream and you can talk about your development process and kind of like the tools you like and the stuff you're thinking about. I think that would be awesome. And I've been looking at the stuff you're posting on X, and I see you're sometimes you're hacking on WordPress, which I love hearing that. So you're kind of you got your toes in some different technologies too, and it would be cool to have that perspective and kind of add it to the mix. We'll put your face up on the little PocketBased banner here. Your face we'll squish everyone over and put you on here too. Okay, well, let's keep getting distracted here, but it's fun. I'm having a good time. So we're video tutorials and live streams. Yeah, you and me both, man. I just you're distracting me again. That's okay though. Right down in, where did I put it? I thought it was in this project. It's somewhere else. Let me go see if I can find. I have, inside my PocketBased project. Oh, here it is, untitled document. Let's open this up real quick. I have this whole outline for a Mastering PocketBased in 2025 course, and I'm collabing with that Early Morning Dev guy. Early Morning Dev, YouTube, Grateful Dead. Yeah, of course. He's not Google prominent yet, but let's go back to his thing here. Early Morning Dev. There he is. Yeah, so I'm collabing with Sam on this Mastering PocketBased in 2025, and I've come up with a rough outline here that, okay, so and this is like an open source thing, but so part one, introducing people to the world of PocketBased. What is PocketBased? What are the showcases? What are all the community resources available using PocketBased? This is a whole just using the super admin basically, and the CLI, and cron jobs, backups, snapshots, just all the stuff that you got to know to manage a PocketBased instance. And then part three is developing apps for PocketBased. And here's where we dive into the web API, targeting different platforms, full stack frameworks that work well with PocketBased, frameworks for mobile app and desktop, design considerations, authentication flows. We get into some high level topics here, but I save extending PocketBased for a later section of the course, because I think that's just a more advanced topic. We cover going into production. Yeah, so extending PocketBased, we cover both JavaScript and extending with Go. I'm not going to get as in-depth on extending with Go, but if somebody wanted to, basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to produce as many of these videos as I can by myself and, post them to my channel. If other people want to take certain sections and create their own walkthroughs of that section, I am very happy to share that, and you can post those to your channel, with the understanding that at the end of this, I'm going to stitch the whole thing together and post an Uber course. Maybe it's 6 or 8 hours long, or however long it ends up being. By the time we get to that Uber course, it'll probably be called Mastering PocketBased 2026. So that's the plan. And then the final section is hands-on building an application, and I have an application in mind, a real-time application that I want to build. I'm going to use PocketPages with it and some other stuff. But anyway, anybody who feels called to collab on this, let's do it, man. I've got a couple people interested already. Sam's interested. This guy Daniel is thinking about maybe editing it. I'm not really sure how all the workflow stuff would work, and I do have a fear of somebody being on the critical path and then not being available, right? So I kind of want to make it something where people can contribute as they have time, and if it falls through or something happens, the project isn't held up by that. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of doing. And if you want to hear something funny, I posted this, I shared this privately with Sam, because I was like, hey, do you want to collab on this and stuff like that? And then like within hours, I look on his channel and I see this getting started with PocketBased in 2025. And I'm like, wait a minute. We were literally just talking about this. And then so I go into the video and I start looking at the chapters that he put in here. And it's like, oh, this is like the same stuff that I had in my outline. And there was a moment, just because I'm a freak, there was a moment that was like, did he just snake the idea? But then as soon as I said that to myself, I thought like, no, wait a minute, this thing's like 40 minutes long, and he posted it within hours after we talked. There's no way he could have produced all of this, and I don't think he would anyway. It's just like, it's where I come from. Like my background and life experience have taught me that people do that sometimes. And so, my mind went there, and then I caught it and reeled it back, and I'm like, wait, Sam's not that. He's not doing that. And so I messaged him and I was like, dude, I am so sorry that like I didn't even ask you if you were already planning to do something like this. And he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of it either. Like when I posted the thing, like your outline is like way more in depth and kind of different than what I had in mind. I still want to like collab on like a bigger course, but yeah, he didn't even realize, like in his mind, he didn't even connect, but he had been sitting on this for a couple weeks already. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, oh yeah, when the weather warms up, Nick, you want to come on after the weather warms up? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, just funny stories and stuff like that. Let's get back to, again, the task at hand here, which is we're in this route handler and we're just trying to make sure that we've established that we've extracted everything out to plugins. And I think we have here because, well, yeah, kind of. Like, okay, wait, this one right here, the on render one, oh, no, that's fine. It's okay, and then on layout, that's fine too. Right, on response, as soon as one handles it, it breaks from the loop. That's what it should not do. It should return, not break, because that'll break through to the catch-all, the throw there. Okay, so I think I have the middleware refactored enough that I can test it reasonably. Something else I was thinking about refact was in the global API, we have for each keys, values, merge, shuffle. These, I think I want to move to a plugin. I think I want to move these. These are all micro dash helpers. And I think I want to move them to a plugin, but I want to make sure that I'm not using them anywhere. Is global API referenced anywhere? Anywhere. Global API URL, that's fine. We're gonna leave that one in, that's core. Yeah, I think I can get away with this. So I'm gonna make a new project, PocketPages, plugin, micro dash, and this one, we're going to have source, we're going to have index.ts in there, and we're going to go find global API, pull all these things out of global API, put them in there, put them into the micro dash one, take them out of here, take them out of the type definition for global API, and now global API is nice and compact as well. Yeah, I really prefer this more pluggable approach kind of thing. Right, so we can write this plugin actually pretty easily, where we've got the plugin factory that we've imported. I think, like, how come it's not working? PocketPages source lib types, right? No? What's wrong with it? Oh, I had it in the wrong spot. Okay, yeah. And so then now our plugin is on extend API. We're just gonna put all of those into the API like that, and we're going to say export default just like that. And I think that will solve this plugin. Let's go into the plugin here, micro dash, and then we're going to go pnpm init. We're going to go pnpm install slibs micro dash just like that. Okay, this seems fine for now. We'll add a little build step to it later and everything, but for now I'm just trying to get the syntax right, clean this all up later. That feels good. The other thing I want to do is for packages here, I hate having to like retype this stuff all the time, so I'm actually going to go plugin, and then I'm going to move all of these plugins into plugin, and then I'm going to rename them all simple. JS SDK, micro dash SSE. Yeah, what's SRC doing here? Oh, this one is supposed to be called auth, right? We forgot auth there. Okay, SSE, right. So now we can, oh, I had plugin, okay. All right, so yeah, so we have site starters, plugins, and Pocket Pages. That's a nice, tidy structure. We're gonna go into workspaces here and add the entry for plugin. Cool, got all that happening. I'm gonna save everything real quick and just whip our progress here because we're getting gnarly. Okay, there we go. Cool, I like this new organization. Yeah, that's very nice. So now I can switch into like packages, plugins, auth, and initialize that one like that, and then we'll go pnpmd Pocket Pages JSVM. We need that one in there as well. It's not Pocket Pages JSVM, it's PocketBased JSVM. We need the very same TS config that SSE is using, so we'll copy those in as well. And package here, this is Pocket Pages plugin auth. The version is 001. It's going to be dist CJS, I believe. And then for scripts, we're going to have build, which is TS up. Hey Siri, turn on clean scene. Seems good. Where are we at? Yeah, so I'm curious to try to build this. So just let's do pnpm build. See what happens. Could not find source index TS. Oh, yeah, right. So what do we want to do? Nick says he's working on his OBS recording setup while he listens. Steam Deck. Yeah, what is Steam Deck? You'll have to explain that one to me, Nick. Steam Deck. I've heard this name, but like I don't understand. Oh wait, it's probably not Steam Deck. It's probably Stream Deck. Is that what you meant? Steam Deck. Let's try Stream Deck. Maybe you meant Stream Deck. Oh yeah, I looked at this actually. You know, here we go again, Nick. This is cool that this is your process. I've tried stuff like this. I come from an audio engineering background and recording background, and I've tried a bunch of like outboard gear like this, and it's never been any better to me than just keyboard shortcuts. And I've tried apps on my phone. I've tried other outboard gear, and I'm even talking about like drum pads and MIDI devices and things like that. I've tried all this outboard gear, and it's like at the end of it all, I would rather just program it in myself and use keyboard shortcuts. So, but that's cool. So yeah, Stream Deck. I was looking at this, and I was pretty close to trying it again because it does look cool. You can like program all these hotkeys and I think the icons are even programmable on it. It's pretty badass. I'm going through the process of seeing if these plugins build and making sure that they export as CJS module. And this is already feeling a lot better to me. Like if I can separate all these out into different, I mean, that's going to be great. Different plugins. I mean, Nick's saying I'm using a game handheld called a Stream Deck. No, now I think you do mean Steam Deck if you're talking about the gaming handheld. No, you're messing with me. Okay, no, that's funny. Yeah, so oh, you do have both. You're not messing with me. You do have both Steam Deck plus Stream Deck. All right. We'll see how all this turns out for you, man. I'm interested. You blaze the trail, and I'll draft behind you on all your research and everything. All right. So the auth plugin is done. Let me whip my progress here. Well, I say done, I mean done as a plugin can be without any documentation or updating the doc site, but we're winding our way back around. Oh, but there is something I want to think about in here. This plugin requires another plugin to work. So it really should auto load that other plugin if it's not already been loaded. Yeah, I mean, like the README needs to be something like this plugin Pocket Pages to be installed and config in your project. And so that's going to be, I'll do more of these docs later. Just wanted to kind of see what the docs would look like. So for each plugin, I'm going to create a README mark that is going to have the documentation specific to the plugin. We won't have that on the docs site anymore. We'll just have a section of available plugins, and when you jump over to the repo, they'll have a README. So that's good. This EJS plugin, this is a pretty important. Let's work on it. Right, and we're going to want to make sure to document that you can supply other extensions that that you can run through EJS. So for example, if you have a markdown file that you'd then like to post-process with EJS, you'd put the markdown plugin first in the chain, and then you'd put EJS after that with the markdown file extension so that it would know to post-process those. Or if you wanted to pre-process your markdowns with EJS, I think you could do it that way too. So, okay, anyway, we have some dependencies here, which it looks like we've already included. All right, the EJS plugin has an on layout and an on render, and it also looks for namely, this one, set auth from header or cookie. This needs to go into the auth. This needs to go into auth. So let's pull it out of here and go find the auth plugin again. And we need a new event hook because the wrapper here that the v23 middleware wrapper that calls the middleware handle calls set auth header or cookie, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to call that. So the middleware handler gets called. And the first thing the middleware handler does is see if they're handled. Then it constructs the API, which we need. Oh, wait a minute. But if it serves a static request, right now, the set auth from header or cookie is called. Yeah, this does need to be way up in the request. This wrapper thing is a little bit janky. Maybe I'll take some time to fix that right now. So the v23, we'll just go straight to the middleware handle with it. And then this wrapper here, taking all of this out, and I'm moving it to the top of the middleware handler. And then I'm changing the signature here. Yeah, we can get rid of wrapper. That help. And we can get rid of auth altogether, and that helps as well. Yeah, we're down to just global API, which is logging and a few utility functions, and parse route. What's happening here now? Try fname. We are in the middle of attempting to build a plugin system for PocketPages. And there are two basic pieces to PocketPages. There is a bootstrap handler and then a middleware handler. The bootstrap handler is the last piece here where we need to be a little bit thoughtful about we are calculating our routes. One thing that seems clear is that the plugins need to be loaded in both the bootstrap handler and the middleware handler. Because the bootstrap handler and the middleware handler run in their own separate environments, in their own separate virtual machines actually, they cannot share data except serialized data through the app store. And the bootstrap handler needs to know a little bit about how plugins are going to respond to certain routes, because some of the route evaluation happens based on those parameters. So right now, inside middleware handler, we have a function named load plugins. And I would like to move this load plugins into the library so that it can be shared with bootstrap handler, because bootstrap handler needs to load the plugins as well. So I'm going to move to new file, and then I'm going to move that load plugin down into the library. While I'm in here, I'm going to extract fingerprint into its own file. Sometimes I find that with library files, it's best to name them the very same thing that the function inside is named. So now that we have the ability to load plugins, the bit that we want to copy comes from right inside the middleware, where we evaluate whether any plugin is handling a particular route. So I'm taking that line from the middleware, I'm going into Bootstrap Handler, and I'm putting it in here. Right where in the Bootstrap Handler we need to know whether the route should pre-process. That should pre-process would really be better titled should handle, because if it doesn't handle it, it just returns it as a static asset. So toward the top here, we will load the plugins. And I guess in this case, we need to load them and initialize them with empty routes because we haven't calculated the routes yet. And what we want to know is if a particular route, if a particular plugin handles the route. So because we're going through to calculate this once already, I think it makes sense to have an isHandled Boolean in the route and take that out of the middleware handler, where we just need to test to see if the route is handled in the middleware handler. We don't need loop through the plugins and evaluate that again. We can do that once in the Bootstrap handler. So we'll initialize it with isHandled equals false, but then we'll just say route.isHandled equals loop through the plugins and see if any plugin handles it. If nobody handles it, return the route because there's nothing more to do. It's going to be served statically. I'm actually going to put a little comment in here. If this route is not handled, it means it's a static file and we can serve it directly. Great. Now we're going to calculate layouts. Okay, so we split the relative path into nodes. We strip out any empty ones or any dots. And then this gets a little tricky because they're not just named layout EJS anymore. They might be layout.md or layout.html or layout.whatever. We don't know that they're going to be, that the layout files are going to be EJS anymore. So we may need another plugin API where we search for different extensions because we need to search for layouts by extension. So if a plugin does handle a file extension, it needs to be able to tell us that because we don't know what layouts to look for unless there's some kind of glob here. Let me see about this. Is there a file system glob? Is there any kind of glob in the JSVM? That's what we're wondering about. Let's go to the JSVM docs and check for glob. I know I've seen one, filepath.glob. Okay, so returns the names of all the files matching the pattern, or nil if there is no matching file. Okay, so I think we can do this then by going filepath.glob, and then we'll glob for plus layout.star. Now, maybe layouts is going to be a string or nil because this glob definition is wrong, or at least it doesn't match the documentation. Either these typings are wrong, or see, because it says or nil if there is no matching file, but then it just returns an array of string automatically. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if the docs are wrong or if the glob is wrong, but I can find out pretty easily here. So I'll open up my Pocker project because that has PocketBased, the PocketBased code base in it. And I will go find the JSVM plugin, find the binds, and let's see if we can find file system bind. Glob is right here, filepath.glob. So I don't know how Goja converts these with compound return types. Yeah, I don't know what it does. There's not a lot of information there. So we're going to just take a guess here that if maybe layouts and maybe layouts length is greater than 0, then we push the layout onto here, or push all of them. Oh yeah, what if you have more than one? I'm gonna throw an error for that. I'm gonna say if maybe layouts, and then inside here, well, the outer if statement can be if maybe layouts and length is greater than 0, then we're inside here. Once we're inside here, if maybe layouts.length is greater than 1, we want to throw new error, multiple layouts found for relative path. Yeah, that's an error. That's an error condition. And then we'll push just the first element of that layout. Okay, I think we fixed that part. Middleware JS calculations stay just how they are. Loader methods stay just how they are. Good. Okay. All of the bootstrap handler and the middleware handler are done. We're down to this last part of parse route, and we need to try a bunch of file names. So here we are again, trying to figure out if we have any file names that match. The issue happening here is that we expect to know the file extensions during pre-processing. Yeah, so I think I do need to alter the plugins a little bit so that they can say what file extensions they handle, if any. I do think I need this to be different. So the definition of handles is what needs to change. I see some issues in this route resolver, and I do want to rename it to resolve route. One of the issues I see is the obvious question of how to search for extensions that we're handling through plugins when we don't have a list of those extensions, file extensions. The other problem I see here is that as it goes through the route candidates trying to find where every segment matches, it's assigning params from each of those, even though this particular segment under evaluation may not be the segment that gets selected. Okay, well, I pushed the param assignment down to the branch where it has to actually find a matching route, so that's fine. But now I'm trying to parse through this code and remember what I was thinking. So if it matches with a fingerprint, if it's not the last segment, it doesn't matter. And then if it passes through the rendering engine, it also should ignore a fingerprint. This route is handled really ought to be called route is static. I want to change this. I want to rename this. Yeah, see, there's some complexity introduced here because now you can have an index EJS and you can have an index MD. I've never actually encountered that problem, but which one would it choose? Which route would it resolve? If there were two routes that matched, that only differed by file extension, and there were two plugins that handled those file extensions and rendered each, I think that should be an error condition as well, but not always. You could have something called hyper.js. You could have an HJS file and an EJS file. It's tricky, all right. It's going to take some thinking, guys. I'm thinking that we may be able to simplify the routing by saying that everything that begins with a plus is processed in some way, and everything that isn't is considered a static asset. That is going to alter how leaf nodes get named, because right now you can have an about.ejs which routes to /about. Now you would have to change it to a plus about.ejs or an about/ plus index.ejs, and I don't know if I like that. Yeah, Nick, sometimes I just kind of go into this like meditative thing and just kind of work out. I don't know, it's like a weird state, like a weird kind of liminal state where I'm sort of aware of, I don't know, it's just that things like swirl around and it's hard to describe. You probably know what I'm talking about though. But yeah, what I'm working on is I'm trying to decide if you have two files, about.md and about.ejs, and you just go to /about, you just navigate to /about, which one wins? I guess you could do it in plugin order. Yeah, just I don't know. I don't know how that should be handled. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna give this some time. Something's not sitting right with me here. I'll be back.
Why does my nose look so big today? Is it always like that?
Thought I had a cute little button nose, but today it seems different. Hey, I think I know what needs to happen here. Let's go back into the bootstrap handler where we build all of the routes. So we build the route based on the file path. We have the relative path, the absolute path. We've got the fingerprint. We've got the asset prefix, which is something like if you have index.ags, I think the asset prefix is index. Yeah, parts without group names. Let's see here. What does parts without group names do? Parts without group names, yeah, filters out everything with group names. Path, and the relative path is coming from routable files. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to debug this routing stuff, but here's the thing. Segments. Yeah, I'm going to need to look at these segments. I'm going to have to look at this route stuff, because what I'm thinking in here is that if the route is static, there should only be one URL path to it. And if the route is, then I think there should still only be one path. I think there's something to do with these segments here, which will allow me to eliminate this search altogether, searching for an extension prefix. So in other words, the URL path is the only name. Think we should be able to build pnpm build. Let's see if build works. Yeah. All right. So we've reduced the size of this thing to 62K, and even that seems large. Let me see what's going on in here. 62K. Oh, because Stringify is in here. Log is in here. PocketBased node is in here. Yeah, like all these dependencies are still in here. Query string is still in here. Yeah, it's still bundling everything. That's why. Okay, so let's work on this a little bit. The dependencies. First of all, EJS is not a dependency. JSVM SDK is not a dependency. PocketBased log, node, and Stringify are dependencies here. Marked, remark, front matter, all the remark stuff plus unified. This all goes into, it's going to go into, where are we looking here? Yeah, into plugins, into the marked plugin, into package JSON. Yeah, all these dependencies are going in here because those are all marked dependencies. We don't need those. QS Lite is coming out. Cookie is coming out. All right. Oh, front matter. That one's going into marked again. So we'll add that dependency right there in the marked package JSON. So now we've got, which we're not even using, take that out. We've got rimref. We've got, okay, URL parse moves out. It becomes an external dependency as well. Microdash, I'm not sure if we're using it or not, but it moves out. And now we're down to dev dependencies that are truly just dev dependencies. So install here, and yeah, it removed a lot of stuff. That's fine. pnpm build. There we go. Now it's down to 20K. You see that? 20K. That's a nice index CJS. Okay. Yeah, because I bet this is all our own code. Yeah, parse slots, after bootstrap handler, we got echo, we got all of this supporting stuff here. Require PocketBased node, require PocketBased Stringify. Yeah. I think we should see if this runs. So yeah, let's find out if this runs. The way to find out if this runs is we're going to go into the minimal starter, take a peek. So the bootstrap just requires PocketPages now, and we're requiring PocketPages here. So let's see, let me list node modules here, and we're going to go pnpm link PocketPages. So I believe that will, yeah, there are a couple ways we can do this. What if we go workspace star like that, and then we just do pnpmi? Let's see what that does. All right, here we go. We're referencing the workspace for now. We'll see, but this is going to make problems here, because when we run minimal, it's not going to find all of those node modules because they're not here. So let's look up, pnpm has this shamefully hoist thing. Let's check it out. So hoist, all dependencies are hoisted to the node modules. This makes unlisted dependencies accessible to all packages in node modules. This makes unlisted dependencies accessible. Okay, all right. Shamefully hoist. What's this one do? Well, I mean, let's just try running it and see what happens. So we'll try running the minimal project, and it immediately says invalid module. So just for fun, first of all, we'll whip all our progress. All right, so it says index CJS is an invalid module. I'm guessing that's because of where we have this boot function. Looking to me like PocketPages won't even boot, but let's see if we can figure out. So for example, it's requiring URL parse, it's requiring QS Lite. I bet it's not finding any of these. So to test that theory out, let's just go up here, take a bunch of this out, and see if we still have an invalid module. And we do. So we're going to take out the rest and just do console log hello world. Oh, I bet I know why it's an invalid module. I bet it's because our main is still pointing to PocketPages PB CJS, and it's actually just index CJS and index DTS. Yeah, our package JSON was wrong. So let's quickly rebuild build file. Let's try running it again and see if we to execute PocketPages PB. So that's interesting. Where's that coming from? So it's still saying invalid module. So let's go back here and see if we can just get a little hello world going. See if we can even make that work. Okay, we got a hello world. Great. So that tells me we're on the right track and that it's probably these requires happening here. And I really wish there were a way to have it say something better than invalid module, because I bet this PocketBased log, well, somehow it was able to find that one and unexpected. Okay, what else then? Let's kind of binary search this a little bit. Okay, there we're getting an invalid module. So now we'll take out PocketBased node, see if we still get an invalid module. We do. Take out this, look for micro dash, still getting an invalid module. Take out the next one, and we're back. So micro dash is causing module. Now I'm really curious here. This invalid module thing is so frickin' unhelpful that I just wonder, could I wrap the require? Could I say old require equals require, and then require path, return require, return old require path, patch, console, error loading path, and then throw E. What if we do that? Just a little require wrapper. So there it says, yeah, there it says invalid module, and it actually shows us what the invalid module is. So that's something. Okay. Now slibs micro dash is in here, and I'm interested to know if I took out micro dash for a moment, I would expect it to error then on PocketBased log. Okay, it errors on URL parse. That's weird to me. It doesn't make any sense that it should even pick up that much. The stream stopped. Let's try restarting our stream here. Restart the stream, select stream. Okay, it says it's live again. We'll see if that lasts. Somehow the stream got dropped. I'm really curious how in the world these requires are even working. So it says it's loading URL parse first. That's bizarre. Comment this one out for a moment. Okay, now it's loading micro dash. What if we comment that one out? It's able to load log, it's able to load stringify. Where is it finding those? As far as I know, those are not anywhere in here. They're not anywhere in node modules. So where in the world is it finding those? So it just says error loading module, but maybe it is finding them, and it's, oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. It does find QSLite just fine. It doesn't find URL parse. Yeah, why? So why isn't it finding URL parse? Let's go look at that here. So for package JSON, we have a main, which is index.js. This has a lot of dependencies. Hold on here. I mean, module exports. Yeah, man, I just have a feeling it's got to do with the, I want this to shamefully hoist. I'm just going to do PNPMI shamefully hoist. Let's just see what this says, see what this does. That didn't do what I thought. Do you suspect that we're dealing with errors because of PNPM's linking? Let's check on that. Let's keep working on it. All the subdependencies will be hoisted into the root node module. That's what I want. Let's try this again. Rimref node modules. And then we want to install with shamefully hoist, and it won't do it. Why? Let's play around something different here. Let's see how Bun handles things. I wish I could see the search paths displayed for debugging purposes when it's trying to resolve the path to a module. It's very difficult to troubleshoot this without that capability. Yeah, this is just tough. Well, guys, we're kind of sunk right now because it seems like PNPM will not shamefully hoist workspace links. What if I just it'll install 0.13.2. It's not shamefully hoisting that either. What if I take the starters out of the workspace